She walked into the lab, expecting another ordinary day. But in an instant, a hand shot out, grabbing her by the throat, mocking, threatening, fueled by hate. The room froze, students staring, hearts pounding. He thought he had the upper hand, that no one could stop him. But he had no idea who he was dealing with, or the secret she carried. One moment could change everything, shatter assumptions, and leave a mark he'd never forget. How far can courage go when survival and justice hangs in the balance?
She was used to the rhythm of the school day, the hum of fluorescent lights, the quiet shuffle of students' feet, the soft clatter of lab equipment. Miss Carter loved her work, the experiments, the chance to ignite curiosity in young minds. Outside the classroom, she was calm, approachable, a mentor to those who needed guidance. But beneath her composed exterior was a strength few ever saw, a discipline honed long before the classroom walls. That morning, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The lab was bright, the students attentive. Yet somewhere in the back of her mind, a faint unease lingered, a warning that today, routine would be shattered, and a confrontation would test her in ways she hadn't faced in years.
The day had started like any other, but a tension simmered in the air, invisible yet palpable. Miss Carter moved from table to table, guiding students through their experiments, when a snicker from the back corner made her pause. One student lingered longer than necessary by the lab counter, eyes darting with something that felt more than mischief. She ignored it at first, choosing patience over confrontation. But the laughter grew, sharp and cutting, echoing against the sterile walls.
Then it happened. A hand shot forward, grabbing her throat in a sudden, violent motion. Shock rippled through the room. Students gasped. Chairs scraped against the floor. But Miss Carter's mind went to overdrive. Her body reacted before her voice could. A surge of reflexes she had thought long buried came to life. The bully's smirk faltered, just for a second, as if sensing that the balance of power had shifted.
The classroom fell into a tense silence. Her heart pounded, not just from fear, but from a simmering resolve. He had no idea who he was dealing with. Years of training, discipline, and experiences that had once seemed distant now surged through her veins, a hidden force ready to protect and defend. Every eye in the room watched, the air thick with disbelief. But the bully wasn't done. He shoved a lab stool aside, his arrogance fueled by ignorance and rage. Miss Carter stepped back, measuring, calculating. The students were frozen, some whispering, some trembling. Each moment stretched longer than it should, every second a pulse of suspense. She could feel the energy in the room shift, the subtle currents of fear and anticipation intertwining.
And then another student joined in, emboldened by the first, throwing insults that cut sharper than any word should. The tension built, a powder keg of hostility and prejudice, and Miss Carter's calm exterior wavered, but never broke. She remembered why she was here, why she had dedicated her life to teaching, and what kind of courage it took to face not just experiments, but the bias and hatred that sometimes seep through the cracks of ordinary life.
Time seemed to slow as she prepared for what she knew had to come. A confrontation that would either end quickly or escalate beyond control. The bully's grin returned, wider, more confident, unaware that every move he made was being met with precision and readiness. A flicker of doubt crossed his eyes. Was it fear or recognition of something he couldn't name? Miss Carter's muscles coiled, every sense alert. The classroom, once a sanctuary of learning, had transformed into a stage where the stakes were suddenly higher than anyone could have imagined.
The bully lunged again, reckless and loud,
his anger filling the room like a storm. Miss Carter's training kicked in, every instinct sharp, every muscle ready, but this wasn't a drill. The air was electric, every student frozen as the confrontation reached a breaking point. Hands gripped, breaths came fast, and for a heartbeat, time itself seemed to hang in the balance.
He sneered, thinking he held all the power, and for a moment the world narrowed to just the two of them. But then, with a calm precision that stunned the room, Ms. Carter shifted, using her experience to turn the aggression back toward its source. The bully stumbled, shock and fear flashing across his face. He had underestimated her completely. Whispers rippled through the students, some unable to believe what they were seeing. Her eyes locked on his, steady and unflinching. In that moment, it wasn't just a fight, it was a reckoning. Every ounce of injustice, every insult, every ounce of disrespect he had thrown at her, all collided in a single undeniable truth. He was no longer in control. The room held its collective breath as the bully froze, realizing the consequences of his actions too late. Miss Carter didn't need to yell or strike. Her presence, her composure, her unshakable resolve said it all. And in that charged silence, the lesson hit harder than any words could. Courage and dignity are forces no hatred can overpower. As he backed away, eyes wide, the students exhaled collectively. But the moment lingered, heavy with meaning, a turning point none of them would ever forget. One simple truth remained. Some confrontations reveal more than just fear. They expose the strength that lies hidden until it's needed most. In that room, everyone realized underestimating her had been the biggest mistake of his life. The room slowly returned to its rhythm, but nothing felt ordinary anymore. Students whispered among themselves, glances filled with a mix of awe and newfound respect. Miss Carter straightened, her composure unwavering. Yet inside, a quiet storm of emotions settled. Relief, vindication, and the weight of what had just transpired. She had faced hatred head-on, and it had failed to break her. But the impact extended beyond the classroom. Every eye that had witnessed the confrontation had seen something larger than a single act of aggression. They had seen courage, dignity, and the undeniable truth that prejudice can never define the strength of a person. In that moment, the lesson wasn't just about science or experiments. It was about respect, humanity, and the consequences of underestimating someone because of race. In Miss Carter's, the day ended like many others. Packs of students filing out, the sun fading, but a subtle shift lingered. The bully had learned a harsh lesson in arrogance and ignorance, and the students carried with them a glimpse of justice, courage, and resilience that would stay far longer than any grades on a report card. Yet this wasn't just one isolated incident. It was a reflection of countless moments, quiet and explosive, where racial bias surfaces in ordinary places, testing the resolve of those who refuse to be silenced. How many more hidden stories go unnoticed, lives upended by prejudice, courage overlooked because the world isn't watching? Miss Carter's stand was a reminder: strength, dignity, and courage are more than words. They are actions that ripple far beyond the moment. And as the classroom emptied, one question remained in the air, heavy and impossible to ignore. When will we stop underestimating those who refuse to be broken?